Adanne is a wealthy Nigerian woman who is widely known as a philanthropist. She lives in the beautiful city of Owerri, where she has different businesses to her name. That evening, as she drove through a small village, women, men and children called out to her, waving their hands and singing her praises. Mrs. Adanne, Madam Adanne, Madam Adanne. Oftentimes, she would give out gifts in form of cash, and sometimes she would buy drinks for the men and women. As usual, Adanne got out of her vehicle to attend to the crowd who had now gathered outside her home, and she knows the reason. Her birthday is in a few days and she will be hosting the village people. They are there to mark attendance, as anyone who didn't get an invitation is not allowed to enter her compound. The people gathered as Adanne rushed inside to bring out the invite she had printed the previous day. "Hello my people, give me some minutes, I will bring out your invites." The people cheered and danced, happy that they will be attending the birthday party and getting gifts this year again. Every year, Adanne has a specific number of guests for her birthday, and a lot of people count themselves lucky to be invited. So, getting an invitation was a big deal. As Adanne entered her inner chamber, the broad smile on her face was replaced by an evil, sinister smile. She opened a secret room where an old woman carrying a black cat knelt down carrying a calabash on her head. Adanne moved closer to her, reached for the calabash and chanted some things, and the invitations appeared. The old woman shrieked as Adanne held the invitation cards. She quickly rushed out and gave out the invitations to the people on queue. She went back to retire to bed after this. Even though a lot of people were happy to celebrate with her, they often wondered why she always celebrated her birthday in a very big way. No one could imagine the dark secrets behind the birthday celebrations and why she never missed it every year. On her birthday, the people came around showing their invitations as they entered the big compound. The smell of jollof rice and other delicacies filled the air. The people ate, danced, and enjoyed themselves. As they left the venue, Adanne gave them all a gift pack containing packaged food and drinks. "Thank you for coming," she said as she gave every guest their gift packs as they left her compound. But as she turned to go back inside, she saw one gift pack sitting idly inside the bag where she had kept the others. "Who left their gift pack behind?" she whispered. "What?" she screamed. "Who did they get their gift pack?" She asked no one in particular. Panic was written all over Adanne as she rushed inside her inner chamber. "Wise one, I do not know why a gift pack was left behind or who left it. Please kindly help me so I can take it back." The old woman looked at Adanne in the eyes, letting every word she said sink in. "How could you be so careless? You know the consequences of such negligence, yet you were so careless." Nneka left her food. Nneka Onwe left her food behind because her mother had warned her about coming here, so she could not go home with any food. "But you have to make sure she eats the food tonight, or you know what happens next." The old woman let out an evil laughter as Adanne stood there, unsure of how to convince Nneka to eat the packaged food. She quickly got into her car and drove straight to Nneka's home. But when she got there, she found Nneka eating dinner with her mother, Mrs. Onwe. Mrs. Onwe is gifted with the ability to see things. Years ago, she has seen the evil that Adanne does with her birthday celebrations, and she has warned all her kids to desist from going to her place. But her daughter Nneka was forced by a friend, Amaka, who convinced her and told her not to believe everything her parents say. "See, stop listening to your parents. They are old-fashioned and don't know what is best for you. I'm not asking you to disobey them, but you don't have to listen to everything they tell you," Amaka advised Nneka as they walked along the forest path days before the birthday celebration at Adanne's place. Nneka did not intend to attend the party because of the dreams her mother told about Adanne, but she wanted to satisfy her curiosity. She decided to leave the gifts behind to prevent her mom from finding out. As Adanne stood at a corner looking at the family as they devoured their dinner, she knew that convincing Nneka to eat the packaged meal would be difficult. but she was scared at what would happen to her if Nneka refused the food. After hiding behind a tree for more than 30 minutes, Nneka's mother went inside and Adanne seized the opportunity to approach Nneka. Adanne took a deep breath. She adjusted her silk scarf and forced a warm smile as she stepped forward. Nneka looked up, startled. "Ah, Nneka, my dear," Adanne said sweetly. "You left your gift pack behind. I came all this way to bring it to you." Nneka hesitated, her mother's warnings ringing in her ears. "Oh, I was full," she stammered, wondering why Adanne would come all the way from her home because of a gift pack. Adanne chuckled. "Nonsense. You must take it. After all, everyone deserves to enjoy their share of my generosity. As long as you were at my party, you must get your gift pack." She stretched her hand towards Nneka, handing her the pack. Even in the dark, Nneka could see her hand trembling slightly. Nneka reached for it, but just as her fingers brushed the package, her mother's voice rang from inside the house. "Nneka, who is that?" Mrs. Onwe stepped out, her eyes immediately locking onto Adanne. Her face darkened as she wondered what evil Adanne has in store for her daughter. "What are you doing here, Adanne?" Mrs. Onwe asked as she stepped out of her house. Adanne smiled, but her grip on the gift tightened. "I came to give Nneka what she left behind at the party. It would be unfair if she missed out." Mrs. Onwe stared at the pack, then at Adanne's face. "Nneka, go inside." "But Mama, I said go inside." Nneka obeyed reluctantly, leaving the two women alone. Mrs. Onwe took a step forward, her voice low and firm. "I know what you do, Adanne. I know the price of your wealth. You think you can keep filling these villagers forever?" Adanne smiled nervously. "You don't understand, Mrs. Onwe. I love my village so much that I can't watch the people suffer. Honestly, I'm doing this out of love for my people," Adanne said, pretending to truly care. "Oh, spare me the story and leave my compound right now," Mrs. Onwe yelled. Adanne tried to say something again, but Mrs. Onwe did not want to hear it. "I have good intentions, but you're making it look like I'm a bad person. What exactly do you have against me, eh? I'm assuring you that nothing bad would befall a child if she eats from the food. If anything happens to her, you can do whatever you want with me," Adanne said assuredly, but Mrs. Onwe asked her to leave. Adanne moved closer to Mrs. Onwe and whispered in her ears, "Honestly, my hands are tied." "Your soul is tied," Mrs. Onwe interrupted, "but not my daughter's." Adanne's fingers curled into fists. "If she doesn't eat that food, you know what happens to me." Mrs. Onwe's eyes bore into hers. "Then I suggest you start praying, because she will not touch a single grain of it." Adanne's body tensed. If Nneka did not eat the food before midnight, the dark spirit that granted her power would take something from her instead. A piece of her soul, or worse, her life. So she had to act fast. Adanne stormed back to her car, gripping the gift pack so hard in anger. She couldn't let this happen to her after everything she had done to maintain her status, wealth and power. As she paced around the sitting room, an idea struck her. If she couldn't trick Nneka into eating the food, she would have to find another way. She picked up her phone and dialed the number. "Amaka," she whispered urgently, "come meet me at the junction right now. I have something for you." Amaka works for Adanne to help convince the youth in the village to come to her birthday party every year. Amaka is well paid for her job without knowing the dark secret behind it. Unknown to Amaka and other youths in the village, everyone who eats at Adanne's home and take the food packs to their homes would never experience any form of happiness or success. Most of the youth in the community have exchanged their destinies with a pack of food at Adanne's birthday party. And the more they attend the party, the worse their situation becomes. No one, except Mrs. Onwe, knows about this. But when she started telling people to avoid going to Adanne's party, she was labeled an enemy of progress who is jealous of Adanne. So, Mrs. Onwe stopped telling people to avoid her parties. She found out that ever since she stopped attending Adanne's party, her business had gotten better and she didn't have to struggle as much as she did in the past. Amaka arrived at Adane's mansion less than an hour later. Her face puzzled. "You called me?" she asked as Adane signaled for her to take a seat. Adane smiled warmly. "Yes, my dear, you did well convincing Ineka and others to come to the party." Amaka beamed with joy. "I told you I would never disappoint you." Adane reached for Amaka's hand and patted it gently. "And because of that, I have something special for you." She handed Amaka the gift pack. "Since Ineka did not want hers, I want you to have it instead. It's a token of my appreciation." Amaka's eyes lit up. "For me? Thank you. Wow, thank you so much, ma." "Eat it now, my dear." And then he hushed, keeping her tone light. "I want to see you enjoy it." Amaka did not hesitate. She unwrapped the meal, took a deep breath of the fragrant jollof rice and dug in. Adani watched, relief washing over her as Amaka ate. The spirit shouldn't care about who ate the cursed food, she thought. As long as someone did before midnight, I should be safe. She smiled, satisfied and relieved. But as Amaka swallowed her last bite, something unexpected happened. Amaka suddenly clutched her throat, gasping. Her eyes widened with terror. "Ma, I feel strange." And then his stomach twisted. This wasn't supposed to happen. The sacrifice was meant to be subtle and undetectable. Amaka fell to her knees as her body convulsed. Dark veins spread across her skin. She let out a strangled scream before collapsing. The room fell into an eerie silence. Then a whisper. "You have failed us." Adane gasped, turning around. The old woman from the secret chamber stood before her. A black cat perched on her shoulder, but her eyes were glowing red this time. "You thought you could deceive us?" The woman's voice echoed unnaturally. "The sacrifice was meant for the bloodline of Howe. You have broken the covenant." And then they staggered back. "No, please, I... she stammered. The old woman raised her hand, and an invisible force lifted Adane off the ground. She choked, her body suspended in the air. "Since you failed to deliver Ineka, we will take your eyes and legs instead." Adane screamed. The shadows in the room thickened, swirling around her like a black storm. And then the old woman was gone. Everywhere became dark. Adane tried to get up, but realized that she was paralyzed. She also couldn't see, and she was blind too. Adane screamed for help as her voice echoed through the night. She kept screaming for help until a couple living nearby knocked on her gate. They entered the house and was shocked at the sight before them. Lying lifeless on the floor was Amaka, with the empty food pack beside her. And then they sat on the floor screaming for help. The couple invited other villagers nearby, and when they arrived, Adane confessed her sins and asked that they forgive her. Everybody was shocked at the extent of Adane's wickedness. "How could you do this to us? You destroyed our lives," one angry youth sobbed. The next morning, the news spread like wildfire. Adane's mansion was surrounded by the villagers who questioned her and asked her to fix their lives. But Adane has no answers. She kept pleading for forgiveness, but the villagers were concerned about making their life situation better. Adane, hearing how far she has destroyed people's lives, cried her eyes out as she beat her fingers in regret. She understands now that no wealth gotten through evil lasts long. She could hear the villagers' whispers as they dispersed to their homes one after the other. At one point, her house became eerily silent. Her expensive cars, jewelry, and treasures were untouched. She was alone in darkness and as a cripple. Mrs. Onwe had always known the truth as she stood outside her home, watching as Ineka played with her younger siblings. She heaved a sigh of relief, knowing that evil has been defeated and her daughter had been saved from danger. The moral of this story is that whatever evil we do in the dark will always come back to light, no matter how long it takes. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment below, like, share to help me grow this channel. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.